Hey everyone! Welcome to my weekly how-to video, and for this week's project, as I said previously, it's going to be something a little bit cute, and we're going to make a little doggy bandana just to make your fur baby look very smart when they're out on a walk. So let's get started. So the first thing we need to do is take the measurements of the dog that you're making the bandana for, and this will be for Winnie. And all I'm going to do is measure how big her collar is, because I don't want it to be any tighter than that. So her collar is 31 centimetres. And then it depends on how big you want the triangular piece to come down her body. And all I want to do is just have it just a little way past her shoulder blade. So from the neck, just down the shoulder blade, it's about 11 centimetres. We'll go to 12 just to... So once you've got your measurements, then you can carry on and cut your material out. We now need to take our measurements and put them into a pattern to cut our fabric. And we do that by taking a piece of A3 paper. You can take two pieces of A4 and stick them together. It's just that the longest length is going to be longer than one piece of A4. So A3 paper and fold it in half. Unfold it, and the measurement that we have for the longest end is 31 centimetres. Now that is the precise measurement around Winnie's neck, and I need probably 4 centimetres either side to allow for the buttonholes and the buttons that we're going to attach to close it. So 31 plus 8 is 39, and we need to divide that by 2 so that we have the same amount on either end of our piece of paper, and that is 19.5. So we need to allow for 19.5 centimetres from the fold line out to either side of the paper. So using the bottom end of your paper, measure 19.5 centimetres off one side of the centre line, 19.5, and the same off the other. The measurement that we need to create the point to the bandana is 12 centimetres, so we're going to measure this from the centre point up the centre line by 12 centimetres, which is there. And then we're going to draw in our triangle from each of those points. And that is your template. So I'm going to cut this out, and I can then use this to cut the 2 triangles from the pieces of fabric, which I'm going to do now. Once you've got your pattern, you then just need to cut your fabrics. And I've chosen these 2 fabrics, a floral print and this is like a poly cotton mix, and a fleecy one for the lining. So let's get on and cut the shapes out. It's worth mentioning at this point that this is your finished shape, and you need to allow a centimetre of hem all the way around the shape when you're cutting it out. So that's why you'll notice that when I'm cutting I am leaving extra, so that is my hem allowance. Piece, instead of using the paper template, I'm now, so that I can match each piece up, I'm going to use the piece that I've just cut and cut around that on the second piece of fabric. With your right sides facing, pin both pieces of fabric together. Fold it in half so that I can make sure that the ends finish in the same place, and take any excess off that I don't need. This is now ready to sew together. For this project I'm going to use a bright pink thread to complement the pinks in the fabrics. and the stitch that I'm going to use is my very basic #1 stitch, and I'm leaving all the settings as they are. To sew a line along the edge, all I'm doing is keeping the fabric lined up with the inner edge of the sewing machine foot, and that allows me the 1 centimetre hem allowance. To stop your sewing machine so that you have a 1 inch to 1.5 inch gap that you can then turn your whole project inside out and have the correct sides facing. One thing you need to do so that when you turn it inside out there's not too much bulk on the corners, you need to cut some of the excess off, which I'm going to do now. You cut as closely to the stitching as possible, making sure that you don't actually cut the stitching itself. Then do that on the other 2 corners. Carefully turn your project the right way round. Before adding any detail and the buttonholes, you need to just hand sew the gap up that you left to be able to turn it the right way round. Add 2 buttonholes to this end so that we have some adjustment when we're fitting Winnie, and also she is only still a puppy, so she is going to grow, so it'll allow it to be used for a longer period of time. And I'm going to make those buttonholes using my sewing machine and a specialised foot. Using your seam ripper, you now need to open up those 2 buttonholes. Bandana, you now need to secure your button. There we go, it's all done. I just need to go and find Winnie and make sure that it fits. So here we have Winnie looking very unimpressed with her new bandana, but it fits perfectly and just makes her look very smart. So yeah, Winnie is looking less than impressed with my efforts, but she will look smart when we go out on our walk later. So if you enjoyed that, please come back next week for another how-to video. She doesn't think so. You okay? Not so sure?